in this video I'm going to tell you about the cascade drop-down list, and after selecting the country you will get the states lists, and after selecting state you will get the select cities lists. So how can be implemented in Angular? Let's see. So first of all, I am declaring API base URL. Inside that my API, I declare my variable and I'm taking a API in that. Now I'm going to write a function for get country in my user service ts file. I'll make us service ts file. Inside that get countries, now I have to implement that API. Return this dot http dot get. We have to get the list of the countries in our API. So $sign this dot API base URL and countries. Now we need to make a function for getting the list of the states. So I'm copying that function get countries, get like this and like this for cities list. Now for getting the state list, I'm making the function of name having a get states. Return this dot http dot get. It would be remain same. Now we need to change the API like states and slash question mark for getting the state ID, because when we are select for country, so country ID, because according to the ID of the country we are going to be get the list of the states. So country ID, and I'm passing that parameter country ID that we are going to get it from the ts file country ID. In the later video we'll see that country ID, so you can see this. Now for getting the list of the city, I'm making a function get cities states. I'm passing the parameter for getting the IDs according to the states, because according to the states we are going to getting the cities list. So that state ID cities slash question mark state ID state underscore ID equal to the parameter that we have passed inside our function state ID state ID. Now this part is get completed. Sorry, state ID, it would be state ID. Yes, that's completed. Now let's move on to the ts-based landing page dot component, where we are going to implement that API, and we need to show that APIs on our HTML sites. So get country for getting the list of the country, and get country this dot user. That user variable is containing user service, so we are getting the data of API from the user service list. This dot user dot get countries from the get countries function inside us user service dot a dot subscribe data. We need to iterate the data. So in data, see, I'm declaring that this dot get country inside ng on it, so that we can get the values console.log, just for checking that you are getting the data or not on the console side. So okay, now the response of the API is for me in this API is different. Like this dot countries, I have just declared the variable countries in the TS, and this dot countries equal to the data inside of which I am getting the data. So I need to iterate the list of the country. This dot countries, you can just check it out on yourself for that you are getting the data or not. So data, and I'm iterating the data, and again I have to iterate, need to reach to that point where the cities of the list I'm getting countries. Okay, so that's it. Now for getting the list of the states, we need to make a function get on state. Sorry, on change. Need to make that on change. On change country event. If we need to pass the condition for getting the ID inside that if condition, if country ID. So we are going to get the ID. According to the ID, we are getting the list of the states. From the according to the ID we are getting from the countries list, we are going to get the states list. So if country ID, this dot user, again user is the variable which I have declared for getting the user service functions. User dot get states. Country ID, I am passing that country ID parameter inside the if condition. Here also if country ID, user dot get states, country ID. So we need to pass that because we need to get that value country ID. Country ID. Now we need to iterate the value of the states dot subscribe method. I'm using for getting for subscribing the message of the states dot subscribe data. This dot states equal to data. Console.log this dot states. Now we have to iterate that states list. So inside the data and states. My API response is like that. You have to see on your in your API that what kind of response you are getting. Now we need to make the function for no it's sorry, this dot cities, not else. This dot else we need to pass the condition. If our data is null, means if we not get the values inside this dot state is equal to null, just pass this condition, and this dot city is equal to null. That's it. Now for getting the list of the cities, we need to make a function again on change on state. So let's take a function name on state, and need to make a function on state curly braces. If we need to pass the condition for getting the state's ID, because we are going to get a cities list according to the state ID which we are getting from the state list. So state ID, again this state ID, we need to pass a parameter so that we are getting the values from the HTML side inside that function state ID. And if state ID state, yeah, now to get the values of cities, this dot user we are getting from the user service file function, user service dot get cities. We need to pass that state ID parameter, state ID get city state ID dot subscribe data this dot cities, this dot city is equal to data. Now we need to iterate that cities lists. So in my API response I'm having that data, and inside data I have cities, and inside cities I have the list of the cities. So in this way I have iterated the cities list. Now else condition, if this dot cities is equal to null, if we are not getting the value of the cities, so our function will go is inside this else condition. Else this dot cities null. Now we have implemented all our logical part inside this. Now in the HTML side we need to write the function for showing the state list, countries list and cities list. So let's